My husband, a man I married for convenience, used every trick in the book to get me, but after the wedding, he wouldn't touch me. I figured he had a problem, so I had no choice but to ask for a divorce. The next second, I heard his thoughts. Did she find out I stole a kiss from her yesterday? Is she so disgusted that she wants a divorce? Of course. I'm just as unlovable as ever. Even being 6 feet 1 inch with an 8-pack and packing 8.5 inches can't make her want me. 8.5 inches? The pen in my hand froze. I looked up at the quiet man across from me. Tentatively, I asked. Can I see it? I was flipping through the divorce papers Eric had drawn up, a wave of sadness and guilt washing over me. I couldn't help but look up at the silent man across the table, and my heart ached even more. I only married him because my family's business was in trouble and we needed the alliance, but I have to admit, the man is gorgeous. Sharp features, great bone structure, and on top of that, he's 6 feet 1 inch with pale skin and lean muscle. Such a handsome husband for a marriage of convenience. My incredibly handsome husband. It's just a shame he can't get it up. We've been married for almost a year, and he's never touched me. The most intimate we've ever been was the kiss at our wedding. I've tried to initiate, to build some marital intimacy. I've even pranced around in black nylons in front of him, but he remained completely unmoved. Always the same cool, quiet man. At this point, how could I not get the picture? This guy, Eric, is 99% certain to have a problem downstairs. If he had even a little bit of game, with my looks and my body, we'd have gone through boxes of ultra-thin condoms by now. Sigh. As a well-read and, let's be honest, horny intellectual, a situation like this is basically a death sentence. A marriage without passion is like a sandcastle. You don't even need the wind to blow, it just falls apart. As much as I'd miss Eric's handsome face and killer body, I had to think of my future happiness. I decided to go through with the divorce. With a sigh, I looked down and started to sign my name on the dotted line. But just as I finished the first stroke of my name, a familiar male voice echoed in my ear. I'm so sad. Why does Tiffany still want to divorce me? Was it because I stole a kiss last night and she found out? Is she so grossed out that she's leaving? Where did that voice come from? I looked up, confused, at the only other living person in the study, Eric. But his lips hadn't moved. He just met my gaze, his eyelashes fluttering slightly. Then he quickly looked down again. Have I been pulling too many all-nighters? Am I starting to hear things? I paused for a moment, then lowered my head again. I was about to continue signing. But the male voice started up again, his tone utterly shattered. Of course. I'm just as unlovable as ever. Even being 6 feet 1 inch with an 8-pack and packing 8.5 inches can't make her want me in the slightest. I want to get on my knees and beg her not to leave, but would she think I'm pathetic, hate me even more, and run away faster? Or maybe if I give her all my shares in the company, she might stick around for the money? Just tolerate being with me? The voice continued in my ear for nearly a minute, sounding impossibly broken and sad. I narrowed my eyes. I was certain I hadn't misheard it this time. And the voice was so familiar, exactly like Eric's. Could it be, I can hear his thoughts? As a connoisseur of all sorts of weird novel plots, the possibility hit me immediately. I lifted my head. My gaze fell on the man across from me. As if sensing my scrutiny, Eric's long fingers curled slightly. He looked at me cautiously. What is it? Is there something in the agreement you're not happy with? Whatever she says, I'll do anything to make her happy. My only wish is that she'll stay with me a little longer. Just a little longer. His thoughts followed his words, sounding so incredibly desperate. And he said he was 6 feet 1 inch with an 8-pack and packing 8.5 inches. That didn't sound like a man with a problem. But if he was fine, why hadn't he tried to get intimate with me this whole year? My mind was completely fixated on that impressive number. I frowned. I slammed the pen down. And tentatively asked. Can I see it? Huh. See what? My sudden question seemed to startle Eric. His cool, detached face was suddenly full of emotion, his eyes wide. He just couldn't get what I was saying. Meanwhile, his mind was seriously trying to analyze my words. She wants to see it? But I'm an only child. I don't have a little brother. Didn't she know that when we got married? Right. To her, I'm just some guy she had to marry. Why would she care about my family? If I tell her the truth now, will she get mad? A flash of anxiety crossed Eric's dark eyes as he hesitated to speak. But watching his clueless expression, I suddenly felt a mischievous urge. So different from his cold exterior. Eric was actually this much of a dork. How could someone be so innocent? He didn't even understand my obvious innuendo. A smile crept onto my lips. I stood up. I walked around the desk until I was standing in front of him. I'm not talking about that kind of little brother. I'm talking about... I leaned in close to Eric's ear and whispered. The next second, I saw a blush creep up the man's pale face, spreading all the way down his neck. The thoughts I heard were a jumble of panic and hope. Am I dreaming? Tiffany actually, she said she wants to see mine. Does this mean I can be selfish and assume she's not so eager to divorce me anymore? Hearing that, I raised an eyebrow. My heart softened unexpectedly. Eric is this scared of me divorcing him? Does he like me that much? We've been married for a year, but this is the first day I'm learning about my quiet, handsome husband's true feelings. I couldn't help but be curious. But even stronger than my curiosity was my itch to find out more. Today, I am going to see this thing in all its glory. I cleared my throat, my eyes casually drifting over Eric's body. I put on a serious face. You let me see it, and I won't get a divorce. What, you don't want to? Before I even finished, the man blurted out. I do. I do. Then what are you waiting for? I rubbed my hands together excitedly, urging him on. What do we say to tempting offers? We go all in. A minute later, my wish was granted. Ever since that one look, the smile hasn't left my face. Not bad at all. I'm quite satisfied. So Eric is fully functional. My future happiness is secured. No more screaming at fictional heroines in my books. Damn it, girl, let me take over for a couple chapters. But Eric still seemed to be in a daze, his cheeks and the tips of his ears still bright red. He kept his head down, not daring to look at me. Was it ugly? Did I scare her? Will she be even more disgusted? I regret it. I should have presented myself better. But I can't control it, I just can't. I like Tiffany. I really like Tiffany. It's all my fault. Before the man could spiral into self-doubt, I quickly cut off his runaway thoughts. I grabbed his wrist and pulled him straight into the bedroom next door. Then I gave him a little shove onto the bed. Looking at my self-conscious husband lying there, coolly handsome with a fantastic body, I couldn't help but swallow hard. I decided to use actions to shatter his anxiety and insecurity. Eric, I'm not divorcing you. But you have to be a good boy and serve me well. How do I serve you? The man's prominent Adam's apple bobbed. His usually stoic face was now filled with nervousness. Serve her? I'd be her servant if she asked. Hearing his thoughts, I felt my own ears get hot. I quickly pulled something out of the drawer and placed it in Eric's hand. Then I leaned down and kissed his lips. Like this. Don't you think that for a married couple, we've been way too distant? We've never even had a deep, intimate conversation, have we? Hearing this, Eric's eyes darkened. His voice was a little hoarse. I understand now. Oh, so that's it. Tiffany likes this. Eric's thought had barely finished when our positions were suddenly reversed. The man closed his eyes and reverently met my lips. His husky voice was laced with nervousness. Then let's have that conversation now. It turns out that more communication really does deepen a relationship. After my little wake-up call, Eric caught on fast. He was no longer as distant as before. All it took was a look from me, and he knew what to do next. And he was constantly worried he wasn't pleasing me. He'd endlessly review things in his head. Was I too rough just now? Did I scare Tiffany? I can't be like that next time. I have to control myself. Sometimes, listening to his seemingly serious thoughts, I couldn't resist the urge to tease him. I'd deliberately provoke him. Honey, the sun is so big today. Speaking of big. Hubby, I don't really have any special talents, except for loving you. I love my husband. I love him so much. My husband is so cute. Anytime he heard me call him hubby or honey, Eric would get incredibly flustered. It was such a contrast, and so sexy. Of course, his thoughts at those moments were equally amusing. Tiffany called me hubby. I'm so excited, so happy. I can't control myself. How embarrassing. But Tiffany called me hubby. Honey, my Tiffany, my honey. Cute, so cute. I love her so much. Not only was he great in bed with a strong desire to please, but Eric was also incredibly generous. Anything I glanced at for more than a few seconds would magically appear in front of me the next day. He gave me his black card to spend as I wished. He was the perfect husband, a real-life fantasy. If you didn't love a man like this, you'd have to be crazy. So, when I was out for dinner with my best friend, Sophie, I couldn't help but flirt with Eric on my phone. She called my name twice before I responded, and she finally noticed something was up. I looked up to meet my bestie's scrutinizing gaze. You're glowing. Your skin looks amazing. Looks like things between you two have improved. But I seem to remember you telling me just a little while ago that you were thinking about a divorce. I giggled and wrapped my arm around hers appeasingly. Well, that was a misunderstanding. I thought he couldn't, get it up. Who knew? Knew what? Not only can he, but he's also totally in love with me and treats me like a queen. Finding a husband like that in an arranged marriage? I totally hit the jackpot. At that, Sophie's expression softened. That's more like it. If he was just some pretty face who treated you like crap and you still refused to leave him, I'd have to kill you. I nuzzled her neck, then hesitated a bit. But I think Eric still has one flaw. What is it? He seems to have no sense of security with me. He's always afraid I'm going to abandon him, always thinking he's doing something wrong. Even when I tell him he's great and that I love him, a few days later he's back to doubting himself. Is that so? Well, that's easy. You just have to spark his possessive side. Make him a little jealous, but at the same time, hint that you prefer a man who's confident and assertive, not meek. He's so into you, he's bound to start fighting for you. Huh? I was still processing. How do I do that? Spark his possessiveness? Sophie's eyes twinkled. That's easy, too. A few minutes later, I posted a new story on my socials. A sad, broken little puppy is sweet, but a dog who fights tooth and nail to keep his owner from leaving? Now that's attractive. The picture, a side profile of a cool-looking guy wearing a dog-ear headband. Visible only to Eric. The second I saw the like notification pop up, my right eyelid started twitching. I looked at Sophie, uncertain. Are you sure this will work? It won't just make him spiral even more? Nah, trust me. I just read a novel where this exact thing happened. It'll work. Seeing my bestie's confident expression, I felt my lips twitch. Well, okay then. After I posted that story, I didn't hear from Eric at all. Oh, is he mad? I tried calling, but his phone was off. And I could only hear his thoughts when I was close to him. Panicked, I rushed back to the villa. As soon as I walked in, I saw our housekeeper, Maria. I asked her anxiously, Maria, is Eric home? Ma'am, yes, the mister is back. He's upstairs. I thanked her and immediately bolted up the stairs. I threw open the door while explaining, "Honey, I'm sorry, don't be mad. I shouldn't have posted that stupid story." The door swung open, and when I saw what was inside, my heart skipped a beat. There was the man who was normally so cool and easily embarrassed, now wearing a puppy ear headband. Around his pale neck was a leather collar with a chain. He was crawling towards me on his hands and knees. His dark eyes were shattered and pleading. When he reached my feet, he held the chain up to me. "Master, please don't leave your puppy. This puppy needs his master. This puppy will die without his master." I was so stunned by the sight that it took me a moment to process. I swallowed hard, my ears burning. "Wait, honey, why are you suddenly dressed like this? Does master not like it?" I paused. My heart was pounding like a drum, but I couldn't help but tell the truth. "Actually, I kind of love it." The second the words left my mouth, Eric jumped in. "Since master likes it, can I dress like this from now on? I'll do anything, just please don't leave me. Whatever master likes, I can learn to be that." He finished by rubbing his head against my thigh. The heat rushed to my face, and a fire ignited inside me. Damn, he's good. Eric is just too good at this. If I could resist this, there would be something seriously wrong with me. Forcing down a smile, I slipped into the role he'd cast for me. I hooked a finger through the chain on his collar. "All right, I won't leave. But you're going to have to prove to me. What reason do I have to stay?" At my words, Eric's eyes darkened. He stood up and pulled me into his arms. His voice was hoarse in my ear. "Yes, master. I'll start proving it right now." In my last moment of consciousness before exhaustion took over, I stared up at the ceiling and gave Sophie a mental high five. Damn, that really worked. Then, with a roll of my eyes, I fell into a deep sleep. Because of that, I missed the puppy's desperate, whispered thoughts. As long as Tiffany doesn't leave me. Even if she finds someone else, I can just pretend I don't know. Just don't leave me. Don't divorce me. Just as Sophie predicted, Eric wasn't so meek anymore. His possessiveness over me grew stronger. Sometimes when I went out shopping alone, I could feel people watching me. But I wasn't scared, because I knew they were people Eric had hired. I'd found some candid, long-lens photos of myself in his study once. Sigh. My sad little puppy had turned into a dark, obsessed puppy. But that was fine. I really liked this side of him. And his thoughts were no longer consumed with the fear of me liking someone else. Instead, he focused on treating me even better. I swear, that girl has read way too many romance novels. She really knows her stuff. To thank Sophie properly, I had to treat her to a big dinner. But when I got to the restaurant, I saw there was an extra person, Sophie's brother, Billy. I stared for a moment, and it wasn't until he frowned and cleared his throat in annoyance that I snapped out of it. I quickly called out, "Billy." Billy's expression softened, but he still couldn't resist a jab. "Oh, so you do know how to say my name. You were staring for so long, I thought you didn't recognize me." A placating smile immediately spread across my face. "It's just, seeing you so suddenly, I was a little shocked. Billy, how could I not recognize you? You're practically my brother. No, closer than my actual brother." At that, the man finally smiled and said, always the smooth talker. "The thing is, Sophie, Billy, and I grew up together. We were inseparable through elementary, middle, and high school, basically like siblings. It wasn't until college, when Billy was a sophomore, that he fell for his roommate and came out to his family. They didn't approve and even tried to pay the guy off to leave. In a fit of anger, Billy left the country with his boyfriend. He was gone for 5 years. He didn't even make it back for my wedding, though he sent an enormous gift. That's why I was so shocked to see him. I almost thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. After sitting down, I looked at Billy, whom I hadn't seen in so long, and started rambling. "Billy, so you're back. Does this mean your family finally came around about you and your boyfriend? Yeah, but with one condition. For the next 2 years, I can't use a single cent of the family's money. So, Billy, do you have a job now? What do you do? Do you need your little sis to spot you some cash? Hearing the words "can't use the family's money" sent a shiver down my spine, making me think of my own situation. That's like a death sentence. It's terrifying. The next second, I heard my best friend's jealous voice. He's a jewelry designer now. He's definitely not short on cash. If you're feeling so generous, you could stand to spoil me a little. I immediately started giving her a sycophantic shoulder rub to appease her. But my ears perked up at the words jewelry designer. An idea began to form. Our first wedding anniversary was just a few days away, and I was still agonizing over what to get Eric. Sophie's words just now gave me a spark of inspiration. What if I designed a pair of matching wedding bands for Eric myself? He loves me so much, he'd have to love something I made for him, right? And something I designed myself would be so much more meaningful. An image of Eric with his eyes red-rimmed, looking like a little puppy, flashed in my mind, and I got incredibly excited. I decided to do it. I immediately told Billy and Sophie my plan. Then I got to work. When it came to design, I was a total amateur. So for things like the engraving on the rings and the actual crafting process, I needed to consult with Billy. For the next few days, I was out early and back late. Luckily, Eric was also swamped with work at his company and hadn't even had time to come home. We just kept in touch by phone. So I didn't have to waste energy coming up with excuses to hide what I was doing. After 3 days, Billy and I finally settled on the engraving for the rings, champagne roses. The meaning, "You're the only one for me." It was pretty romantic. Once we decided on the engraving, the rest was easy. For the sizing, I had our original wedding bands as a reference. The finished rings were ready the night before our anniversary. As I was on my way to Billy's studio to pick them up, I got a call from Eric. He sounded hoarse on the other end, maybe from pulling all-nighters for work. It gave his voice an unexpected vulnerability. "Tiffany, I'm heading home today. Is there anything you want to eat? I can make it for you later." I froze for a second. I quickly refused. "No, that's okay, honey. I'm out shopping with Sophie right now. I'll probably be back late, so I'll just grab a bite out." Billy's studio was pretty far from our house, a 2-hour ride even by taxi. If I said yes, my cover would be blown. This was the only way I could respond. "Sorry, my little puppy husband." As expected, after hearing my words, Eric's tone was tinged with disappointment. "Oh, okay. Well, Tiffany, remember to come home early. It's not safe, out too late." "Okay. Don't worry, honey." After hanging up, I knocked on the door of Billy's studio. I went inside and closed the door behind me. The man was busy with another design draft. He looked up and pointed to where the rings were. "They're over there. Try them on, see if the sizing is right." I nodded and walked over to the table where the rings were. I picked up my ring and slipped it on. Billy's voice suddenly called out, "How is it? Is it too big?" It's just right. It's perfect." I couldn't help but admire it. I held up my finger to show him, planning to walk over for a closer look. But I was so excited I didn't see the corner of the table and slammed my foot right into it. The pain was so sharp I cried out, tears instantly welling in my eyes. "Ow, that hurts so much." Before I could even curse, I heard a sound from outside the door, like a phone dropping. I wondered which one of his employees was being so clumsy. But I was too preoccupied to care, crouching down and muttering to myself as I tried to soothe the pain. Billy sighed, stood up, and walked over to me. He handed me a can of pain relief spray. "Still as clumsy as ever, not watching where you're going. Need a spray?" I shook my head and refused. "It should be fine after a little rest." Who knew that little rest would turn into 2 hours? My foot felt fine after about 15 minutes. But then the heavens opened up, and it started pouring rain. I couldn't get a taxi, and Billy was busy. I didn't want to bother him. So all I could do was stare at my ring, then at the window, praying for the rain to stop. In the end, it was my bestie who came to my rescue. It was already 11 o'clock at night when I got back to the villa. I hid the rings, trying to figure out how I was going to explain to Eric why I was home so late. But when I pushed open the bedroom door, I found it was pitch black. Was he asleep? Using the faint light from my phone screen, I aimed it towards the bed. No one. Where was Eric? He said he was coming home today. As I was wondering, a sound suddenly came from the closet. It sounded like something was moving around inside. In an instant, all the stories I'd ever seen about home invasions and murders flashed through my mind. My scalp tingled. I was about to bolt. But the next second, a familiar male voice echoed in my ear. Tiffany's back. Should I come out? If I come out, will she ask for a divorce right away? After all, she's already found someone better than me, and it's all my fault for being so useless. Even when Tiffany was willing to be with me, I couldn't make her fall for me. Is that Eric? My panic instantly subsided, replaced by a hesitant feeling. I slowly approached the closet. The closer I got, the clearer the familiar voice became. I can just pretend I don't know. As long as she doesn't leave me. Even if she finds 4 or 5 other guys, I don't care. I'm her husband. I'm her home. But she doesn't love me. She doesn't love me at all. As his thoughts faded, a soft, suppressed sob followed. Is Eric crying? I grabbed the handle of the closet door and swallowed hard. Then I yanked it open. In the beam of my phone's flashlight, I met a pair of red-rimmed eyes. The man's flawless face was streaked with tears, his nose red. He looked so pitiful, crying his heart out, that my own heart felt like it was being squeezed. Eric stared blankly for a moment before he came to his senses, wiping away a tear that was about to fall. His face was a mask of panic. Tiffany, you're back. Are you hungry? If you are, I'll go make you some noodles. He started to climb out of the closet. Don't. You stay right there. I have something to say to you. I set my jaw, my eyes fixed on him. The man lowered his gaze, his fingers twisting together nervously. He looked like a man awaiting his sentence. So this is it. It's finally come to this. But I don't want a divorce. I really don't want a divorce. His thoughts kept flooding my mind. I sighed. I bent down and wrapped my arms around his curled-up form. Eric, I love you. I haven't found anyone better than you, and I have no intention of divorcing you. This is all the truth. Do you hear me? At my words, the man's pupils contracted, his face going blank. It took him a long moment to respond, his voice dazed. I'm not dreaming, am I? I immediately answered, you're not dreaming. Everything I said is true. Do you need me to repeat it? Eric shook his head numbly. No, you don't. Then can you tell me now why you always think things like that? Why do you always think I don't love you? Why do you always think I'm going to divorce you? Why do you always think I'm going to fall for someone else? No more spiraling. Let's just talk this out, once and for all. A sensitive, insecure person needs a partner who can guide them. And while I'm not the most detail-oriented person, let alone a guide, I do have a mouth. I can ask questions until we clear up the misunderstanding. Eric was silent for a while before he finally spoke. Because I feel like I'm so dirty, so worthless. Like I'm rotting mud. And you, Tiffany, you're a cloud. Can a cloud and mud really be together? No. You're not mud. You're the best Eric, and you're the Eric I love. His dark eyes shimmered with emotion. I hugged him tighter, confirming it one more time. Tiffany loves Eric. That's a fact, I swear. I held up 4 fingers, as if swearing an oath to the heavens. Thank you, Tiffany. What did I ever do to deserve someone as good as you? A smile finally touched Eric's lips, but fresh tears welled in his eyes. I reached out and gently wiped them away. Remembering the thoughts I'd heard while he was in the closet, I pressed on. One more question, why did you think I'd already met someone better? The man's eyelashes trembled. His voice was hoarse. Because I saw it. I saw the story you posted. And I saw you with that guy, going to his studio early in the morning and coming back late at night. Yesterday, I heard you, too. In the studio. As he spoke, the little puppy couldn't stop his sobs. He looked so pathetic. He asked you if the size was big. You said it was perfect. And then you said it hurt. I know him. I saw him with you in high school. His name is Billy. He's your childhood friend, isn't he? Holy crap. So the person outside Billy's studio that day was Eric? And he heard our conversation. Wait, how did I not realize how ambiguous that sounded at the time? I awkwardly wiped sweat from my forehead and glanced at my phone. Okay, it's past midnight. Screw it. No more surprises. This is going to turn into a horror show if I wait. I quickly pulled out the rings and slipped one onto the ring finger of Eric's left hand. It's a misunderstanding. A huge misunderstanding. The Instagram story was because Sophie and I were talking about how to make you less insecure. She suggested sparking your possessive side, using a plot from a novel she was reading. That's why I posted it. The picture was just some random photo from the internet. Billy, Sophie, and I grew up together. We're practically siblings. I would never, ever go there. Besides, Billy is gay. He has a boyfriend. The reason I was seeing him is because he's a jewelry designer now. I wanted to design our wedding rings myself, and I needed his help with things I didn't understand. Tomorrow, no, today. Today is our first wedding anniversary. At my words, Eric froze, his eyes widening. Is that true? This was all a misunderstanding? Yes, yes, yes. I'm not seeing anyone else, I swear. You've got it all wrong. I've only ever loved one guy in my entire life, and it's you. As if he couldn't believe it, it took Eric a long moment to process. Then he threw his arms around me, holding me tight. His voice was choked with tears. I'm sorry, Tiffany. I was wrong. I shouldn't have doubted you. I shouldn't have thought you were seeing someone else. It's all my fault. With the misunderstanding cleared up, I felt a wave of relief and couldn't help but laugh. It's okay. As long as we talked it out. So, honey, do you believe me now? Do you believe that I love you? The man I called out to nodded through his tears, his misty eyes gazing at the ring like it was a priceless treasure. Then I remembered what Eric had said about seeing me and Billy in high school. A guess began to form in my mind. I asked him cautiously, honey, you said you saw me with Billy in high school. Were we at the same school? Did you notice me back then? Did you like me even then? The man nodded, admitting it. Yes. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't find any memory of Eric from high school. It was incredibly frustrating. Can you tell me about it? I can. Hearing my question, Eric responded immediately and began to tell his story. In high school, my family was very poor. My parents fought about money almost every day. I fell asleep to the sound of screaming every night. Then, during winter break, on our way to visit relatives, they started arguing in the car, and there was an accident, and... He didn't finish the sentence, but I knew what he meant. A sharp pain shot through my heart. I squeezed Eric's hand. His story continued. After that, I was alone. I was introverted and bad at talking, so I didn't get along with my classmates. Some of the guys really hated me. One time, during gym class, they deliberately hid my shoes and called me Trash. The piece of trash that killed his parents. My nose stung, and the feeling of heartache intensified. I wanted to tell Eric to stop, but he just squeezed my hand back, as if to say it was okay. Then it started pouring rain. They all scattered, leaving me alone in the downpour. I just kept thinking, maybe I really am trash. Maybe I really did kill my parents. I was in a really bad place. I was so depressed, I even had extreme thoughts. But in that moment, you came. You gave me an umbrella. You said I'd catch a cold in the rain, and that you'd luckily bought an extra one, so you could give one to me. That was the first time I had ever received such straightforward kindness, from a girl I didn't even know. Tiffany, you were a little sun. A little sun that warms everyone else. Hearing that, my body went rigid. In a flash, a sliver of a memory returned. I saw the image of a boy standing on the athletic field in the pouring rain. His bangs were long, almost covering his eyes. He looked so silent, so lonely. The sight pricked my eyes. So, on a whim, I walked over to him. So that was Eric. I couldn't find the words to describe how I felt. My chest just felt tight. So painful. I couldn't stop my own sob. We knew each other that long ago. If only I had stayed a little longer, looked a little closer. I'm sorry, I didn't know. I didn't know you'd known me for so long, and I didn't know you'd been loving me, all by yourself, for so long. The red in Eric's eyes hadn't faded, but he still managed a gentle smile. He wiped away my tears. He said, Tiffany, it has nothing to do with you. Just being able to meet you, and to marry you, is already the greatest happiness I could ever ask for. I forced a smile. Yeah, I finally get it now. I finally understood why fate had given me the ability to hear Eric's thoughts. It wanted me to see his love. So that's what it was. I slipped my own ring on and clasped Eric's hand tightly in mine. I made him look at the pattern on the rings. The language of champagne roses is you're the only one for me. Eric, I love you. We were meant to be. The man smiled and kissed the corner of my mouth. Yes. Meant to be.